So, my name is Igor. I'm a research software engineer at UCL Center for Data. Okay. So Miguel and I, we're research software engineers at the UCL's Center for Advanced Research Computing, and we work together with UCL Center for Digital Innovation, one of the centers. And so the other colleague, Socrates, who is a research data steward, he's not here today, but we'll work together and trying to do exactly what it says, trying to bring the digital innovation into the real world. So why do we want to have this talk? So the general idea that we've seen a lot of academics want to bring their research into the real world, and not necessarily research commercialization in the sense of earning money. It's effectively trying to bring what you build in the real world and see the benefit of it. So, and to do that, we are trying to apply the software engineering skills and research skills to sort of see what's the best way to take the research and make sure that it's a sustainable solution that can survive the real world. So, the plan for today, we're going to quickly touch about the background, so you have a context information. I'm going to talk about the Impact Accelerator program, which is the startup accelerator. Some challenges faced by university spin-outs, but they are more from the technical perspective. That's not like a business or any other. This is something that we collected through the experience working with lots of academic teams who seek to commercialize their research. And also, there's a technical support, or the way we provide technical support to the academics in order to help them to build their products, and we're going to talk a bit about the case studies. So yes, UCL Center for Digital Innovation. This is a center was founded in partnership with Amazon Web Services. So the general idea is that to help academics to build digital solutions, and the cloud is sort of obvious way of doing this because for various reasons. The center has like three core programs: Impact Accelerator, Scholarship, and Challenges. But a part of this, the core idea is to build a community around it and help a broader group of people who is interested in research commercialization and building the digital innovation. But the long-term idea is to create lots of blueprints, white papers, and generally to support in all sort of ways. So the center is relatively new. It's working since 2022, but we already supported lots of startups. Quite a lot of them had tractions, like some of the startups being acquired. Quite a lot of them get funding. So we've seen quite a lot of positive traction. Supporting teams. And this is the UCL ARC. I'm sure most of you heard of this, and like lots of colleagues from ARC supported the UCL CDI and lots of teams in the various ways. So at the moment, it's Miguel, Socrates, and I work on permanent basis with the CDI, and we use all that sort of a big knowledge we accumulated within ARC to support in all aspects of the digital innovation. Impact Accelerator, which is like the main program where ARC supports academic entrepreneurs. So we run two programs per year. They're all 3 months, but it's not just a 3 months program. We get lots of activities around this. But the general idea is to build a foundation for the startups or spin-outs for them to act independently and develop their products and make a real world impact. So important thing that the accelerator is not profit, so is no interest. So usually accelerators take some equity, but this is not the case of the CDI. So effectively, it's all based on like a pure support. But the limitation that we have like two verticals: healthcare and education. And we just wanted to make sure that it does have a positive societal impact. And just to, sorry, my click isn't working. So effectively, this is the eligibility criteria because because the accelerator doesn't take any equity in the startup. So we just want to make sure that all the startups have been out address societal impact. They base their work on the evidence or academic research or empirical data, and they should show the commercial viability. Commercial viability not in terms that will become a unicorn at some point, but effectively that can sustain their work long term. So what we've seen in the recent years is that we see lots of academics looking to go to commercialize their research in this particular sense, but we also see lots of teams from the private sector reaching out to UCL who wants to benefit or use the great knowledge from academia to develop their products, in particular in healthcare. So we have seen lots of teams want to work with the UCL Institute of Education and that. So just a quick about the approach. So because the center operates in partnership with Amazon Web Services, we use the Amazon working backwards innovation methodology. So effectively, this is implies taking your customer as a sort of a focusing on your customer needs, and then you would write a so-called PR FAQ, which stands for press release frequently asked questions. So effectively, you imagine that you already developed your product and you writing a press release for it. And you imagine your customer and what would customer like to see, what would like to read, what problem you would like to address. And then you also think like what kind of questions they're going to ask about your product. So you write all this down, and then based on that, you can iterate this PR FAQ document to see if this document you developed is actually addressing a real world problem or solving your customer needs. From the technical perspective, if you're familiar with this, we are trying to build the right thing, because quite early in the startup life, you want to move fast, but at the same time, you don't really have many chances to develop a good product. So we want to maximize the chances of succeeding by helping them to build the right thing, meaning that their solution should address the real world problem. And from this, I'll go into Miguel, who's going to talk a little bit of the technical challenges we.
Yeah, thank you, Igor. Yeah, so some of the challenges we start to realize about supporting researchers are presented in this graphic. So basically, UCL Center of Digital Innovation communicate to different stakeholders, like, for instance, RSEs as consultants and AWS colleagues as well. So we have special needs that requires by academics on the plan to start doing the education or healthcare technology. At the similar time, we need to identify like facilities where they need to pilot in the studies, create proof of concept. So we, as RSEs, support this kind of navigation and connecting through business advisors or data stewards towards navigating this process. And also on the other, I guess, bottom of this circle, you see how UCL CDI is looking for connect to do partnership with industry, philanthropy, and big firms, which is a different stage of the process. I want to mention a few of the key challenges we have seen when supporting academics. Like usually we see like the misaligned needs of users. Like there's lots of, sometimes there's assumptions of how they drive decisions based on what they understand, but not the actual user feedback. Sometimes there are limited knowledge of market or the problem itself. They have like some kind of weak or incomplete technology stack. Also the composition of the team, like the roles and ownership, sometimes it's unclear. Goals are not really clear defined, or dependencies are hidden. Other challenges we also see is about the security, data protection, and compliance, that sometimes also they are really misunderstood, or there is no really understanding of that. So Okay. So this is why we start thinking how we put together teams that are, groups of academics, industry, and also our group R and CDI, who are RSEs, data stewardships, and business advisors to help teams to navigate different collaboration process, like from problem definition, solution development, solution adaptation, and pre-commercialization. Of course, each of the teams has different skills and, I guess, levels of the technology readiness. So we try to navigate where exactly they are to think about the CDI approach, where we try to focus on developing the product and make them think how they can create like a CTO or tech lead or also the CEO or product owner, supporting them on how they put different skills like domain experts, DevOps, like the customer needs and the agile delivery, all focuses on the product development. That leads to to Igor mentioning more about how we support this this academic entrepreneurship.
So yes, together with AWS colleagues, so because the center is quite young and how the research software engineers work with the academic entrepreneurs is develops all the time. So effectively, we identify the key support areas that we want help to help with, and this is something that that us RSEs and the data stewards and AWS colleagues, solutions architects in particular, addressing the key challenges that we faced with the team. So you can think of this as sort of going from top, like starting from the top and going to all the way to the bottom. So it all begins with the problem solution fit. So effectively, we would like to help to understand if the technical solution we are developing is actually addressing the real world problem and how we're going to identify that this is the way to go. Building teams and ensuring there's a commitment within the team. This is also quite a frequent problem that we've seen. So building a high-performing team is very difficult, especially if you're trying to do the software delivery, because if you never productionized your code before, you will probably see lots of challenges. You would have to build some capabilities within your team to make sure that you move it fast, because when you work in a startup area or you're building a startup, it's a very fast-paced environment. So you need to learn how to move fast, how you need to build the resilience within your team. And this is what something that we're trying to help them. If we go, again, the technical foundation, because we're talking about the startups, every technical decision you will make at this stage will be very crucial for your further development. So the technical stack you choose, the early architecture decisions, they're all very important. So this is where we use all the expertise that we build within ARC, with research software engineers, but also Amazon solutions architects and sort of a broader support from Amazon to make sure that the teams are ready technically to deliver a solution. Planning and execution, again, because in the sort of software delivery, we get used to work agile practices, get feedback from the users. This is not something that people or academic entrepreneurs will know or not know very well. So this is something that we're trying to help them, especially in the first time, trying to organize the agile maybe rituals, understanding how to build feedback into the development culture, how to work with the customers, and so on. Because CDI verticals are healthcare and education, so managing risk and compliance is very important. So effectively, especially with the data, and nowadays with AI being very high, forget that the foundation of building good machine learning algorithms is actually the data. And there are some challenges if you're trying to build your algorithm based on the research data and you want to commercialize it, then you just need to make sure that you have a clear understanding of the intellectual property, consent from the users or the people you collected the data, So to make sure that, none of the current legislation and compliance is going to be violated. And the last one is the expert support. This is something that, we're also trying to get people to get into the strategical thinking, to go away from solving immediate problems, even though they could be quite learning, solve immediate technical problem, but you also want to think a bit further into the strategy and understand like what is your next steps, what is your next challenge, and this is something where we try to help. Maybe a quick one. So where exactly research software engineers help? So in the startup accelerator setting, the way that CDI Impact Accelerator timeline works is like some teams apply, there would be a big pool, sometimes up to 50 teams, and then they all get reviewed by the expert committee and see if they apply, if they have a societal impact and research trigger. And then we help with the phase one. So effectively, we are running a set of workshops, which I'm going to talk about later, and then the shortlisted teams are going to steering committee, and then it would be actual accelerator program with extended support. So, and the most important thing with extended support, so we want the insights and lessons learned from the teams to be publicly available. That's why we are trying to get all the information of and the best practices we have to publish at the GitHub. Right. Okay, so this is just for illustration where exactly what Miguel was talking about, the product development. So effectively, to make sure that the technical acceleration and implementation is correct, we were trying to get the step between your idea, build an MVP, and then create a technical implementation. So effectively, CDI or Impact Accelerator welcome teams on any stage. So it could be idea, it could be MVP, minimal viable product, or we also welcome teams at the growth stage. So when they go through the phase one and research software engineers actually involved, especially in the product development and the technical assessment. So we help the teams to build to a better specification for their MVP, or if they have an MVP, we help to refine it to make sure that it's proper, or if it's a already established team with a good traction, we're trying to build them a better product roadmap. But effectively, what we want them to have is when they actually go to accelerator phase, that have a good list, a list of the product features which are prioritized based on the business and customer value. From the technical perspective, RSEs and data stewards and our AWS colleagues, we are trying to help the teams to establish the good architecture, system design, learning plan, and further development. So this is a typical technical support that we help with the team. So we've got office hours, deep dive sessions. Again, the teams get lots of support from AWS training. So we're trying to make sure that the teams are ready stuff. And yeah, so we've got an extra support. This is something that's probably quite new for the research of the engineers, because this is the startup commercialization setting. So we need to understand the business setting a little bit more. What is the customer? What is the business value? And help teams get better. Okay, so this is the key role. So again, that's, even though it sounds very superficial, we do have actual hands-on work with the team. And this is just to illustrate the wide range of the expertise that we provide towards the team, to the teams. So we have quite good case studies, and effectively most of the teams originated from the UCL or any other institutions. So for example, lots of them secured grants and funding and actually delivering their solutions into the real world. Lots of teams already scaling after working with the CDI. And as you can see, we already got lots of spin outs, which, from anywhere from healthcare to education. And part of that, we also support scholars, and Miguel is going to talk to you.
Yeah, other important part of the support we provide is how we train and mentor scholars, PhD scholars, on delivering and speed up the research. So we have 3 examples. Eva, who is doing omics and cell therapy engineering, mainly like how she can prepare some like proof of concept tools for her research. Thomas Cross doing reinforcement learning models for drug discovery as well. how he's doing the costing of that deployment of those models. We have also Kester, who is creating AI-generated interventions, so how he's prototyping these agents using Amazon SecMaker, and how he's planning to do this kind of implementation of open source models. So just to finding and supporting and speeding up the journey through this proof of concept work. So what's next? So we have like a call for action. So we currently running the cohort number 8, supporting 4 teams on education and healthcare technologies. We also part of the innovation startup program, AIR26, partnered with University of Southampton and Responsible AI. There is coming platforms on healthcare and education to also accelerate the challenges and health researchers on navigating all these entrepreneurship and startup challenges. And also we have planned for creating lab to launch pre-accelerator. So we started also thinking about creating a community. So we have like a Slack, GitHub, and we are planning some workshops as well. So please, we have a CDI hub where we kind of putting together blueprints of successful cases. So yeah, we thanks to our amazing teams of R and CDI or AWS colleagues, founders. Yeah, please reach out to Igor and I. We have a like amazing outcome. So yeah, thank you.
Thanks, both. We have time for questions, so we'll get that switched over. I can start reading the first question for you guys, which is, do you experience tension with the open source movement, and how do you deal with this?
Yeah, well, I can mention about open source movement. So definitely the tension is about the IP protection and the challenges that, of course, the researchers want to commercialize that idea, like before publishing or putting that on public domain. So we also partnered with UCL business to understand the navigation licensing. So definitely that's lots of challenges there on misunderstanding of what does it mean to use certain licenses that maybe avoid them to going to commercial pathway. So yeah, so we help them to try navigate this process to hopefully make like successful cases.
Yeah, but generally encourage the the academics to all startups and spin outs to open source as much as they can. So effectively, so it could benefit a wider range. So, and we also try to get like a blueprint, so it will be and especially for the scholars. Because like adopting cloud computing could be quite difficult and generally approaching. So we want to collect this, the artifacts that could be helpful for the wider community as a whole.
And related to that, do you advise academics about the dangers of vendor lock-in, and especially what strategies to avoid when it comes to AWS, for example?
So the vendor locking is very interesting. So effectively, depending on the state, so the cloud, as you rightly said, you can potentially get into the vendor locking, but again, you can use the cloud differently. You can start with virtual machine and some storage, and it's a minimal vendor lock. So I mean, it's still there. So effectively, depending on your solution, if you're just doing sort of proof of concept, a very early MVP, then you can still use virtual machine and maybe some storage. It's a minimal vendor lock. You can always move somewhere else. However, if you're trying to build something a bit more cost efficient or something that a little bit more sophisticated, you might benefit from using managed services. So in the beginning, they might be cheaper, but again, this is something that you could be very careful, because if you use a managed services, they can get very expensive later on, or you might get into the vendor lock. So those are all the risks that we advise people on, and it's very nuanced, and the answer is it depends. And so we try to help to avoid vendor lock, but at the same time, there's a benefit of using a particular managed services. So it's always based on base case.
Yes, that makes sense. I really like the next question that George asked. So in my mind, I was already the next one. How do you think that your product thinking and your other support can help RSEs that are not in the startup setting?
That's the very good question. Thank you. So the product thinking is effectively when you try to switch that way you approach writing a code, is that you start thinking about a customer, the person who's going to use the result. And so the product thinking is not in a way how I earn the money with this, what I do, but am I actually solving somebody's problem? So in this particular case, the product thinking is not about commercialization per se, but solving the problem. And I think that's where the product thinking helps. And this is something that we're trying to, I mean, there's definitely use for that. So if you're writing a software, keeping in mind, the end user, maybe impact or solving that problem is a very good approach.
Yeah, also adding to that is also understanding the actual needs of the user, I mean, or academic collaborators, like help them to navigate before or like assuming that they want a product. So how they kind of, as RSEs, create a product that actually solves the needs. So that's a different way of thinking as we like business mind just to create these MVPs for them.
Awesome, thanks. There's many more questions. In the interest of time, I think we leave it there. Please go and chat to Igor and Miguel. Cool, and thank them again. Thanks so much.